So let me shift to this topic right here. Boy, oh boy, has it been a rough year for Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines in 2020. Now, obviously, the big news is Ohio State has canceled their annual game with Michigan due to Michigan dealing with the coronavirus as far as their players are concerned. This is the first time that game has been canceled since 1917. Honestly, to keep it above 50 with you, if Michigan was a top 10 team and they needed this game to get into the playoffs, they would have found a way to make this game happen. But Michigan, they chickened out because they know they're going to get boat raced by Ohio State. We all know Ohio State pretty much owns Michigan at this point. Ohio State has won 15 of the last 16 games versus Michigan. Michigan was going to lose. We know that, okay? But let's talk about Jim Harbaugh. Because as a whole this year, Michigan has been a disappointment. This year, Michigan is a 2-4 football team in regards to their record. And we're in the 6th year of the Jim Harbaugh era in Michigan, and he has yet to beat Ohio State. And listen, I understand this year is the year of COVID. Teams like LSU, teams like even Penn State, Minnesota, Oklahoma have struggled a little bit or gotten off the slow starts. I get it. It's been a struggle year for some of these teams because of COVID. But I'm sorry, people. Michigan has been a flat-out disappointment. There's no other way to slice it. They've been a disappointment this year. And like I said, we're 6 years in the Jim Harbaugh era in Michigan. We're in year number 6. I'm done with the excuses for Jim Harbaugh. You should not be losing to Michigan State in your 6th year at Michigan. You should not be losing to Indiana. You should not be barely beating Rutgers. And as of right now today, Ohio State, Penn State, Wisconsin, and depending on who you ask, maybe Iowa and maybe Northwestern are better programs in the Big Ten than Michigan. That's sad to see because people thought that Jim Harbaugh was going to be brought into Michigan to knock off Ohio State, to win big games, and to allow Michigan to compete for national titles. And he has failed in that regard. Jim Harbaugh's bowl record is 1-4. Jim Harbaugh's record versus Michigan State is 3-3, 500 versus your little brother in state. And his record versus Ohio State is 0-5. And if you combine those records, so if you combine his bowl record, his record versus Michigan State, and his record versus Ohio State, Jim Harbaugh is 4-12. That's not a great record. And Jim Harbaugh clearly is not the guy going for Michigan if Michigan wants to get over the hump and compete with Ohio State and win national titles. And here's the harsh reality about Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. See, here's the thing. Michigan thought that Jim Harbaugh was going to be brought in to win them national titles and to take them to the promised land. But unfortunately, I have to say this is the honest truth. The expectations for Jim Harbaugh at Michigan were way too high to begin with. Jim Harbaugh was never going to live up to the Michigan fan base's expectations. And I'll tell you why. What you have to understand about Jim Harbaugh is this. Jim Harbaugh is a good college football head coach. He's good. He's not terrible. He's not awful. He's good. But Jim Harbaugh is not elite. And even before he got to Michigan, he was never an elite college football head coach. See, Michigan fans were so turned on to Jim Harbaugh because they said, oh, look at what Jim Harbaugh did at Stanford. He turned Stanford around. Jim Harbaugh's the answer. He's going to make us a national title contender. And folks, the honest truth was Jim Harbaugh was nothing special at Stanford. He was a good head coach at Stanford, not an elite head coach at Stanford. During the 4 years that Jim Harbaugh was the head coach for Stanford, he won 58% of his games, and he went 1-1 in bowl games. 1 win and one loss in his 2 bowl games that he made at Stanford. That's good, but that's not great. That's not elite. Like I mentioned earlier, Harbaugh's a good coach, not a great head coach. He's not Dabo Swinney. He's not Nick Saban. He's not Ryan Day. Heck, you can make the argument he's not even Ed Orgeron. You want to know why I'm going to give Ed Orgeron a pass right here? I'm going to give Ed Orgeron a pass because this guy plays in the SEC, the hardest conference in all college football. I can live with Ed Orgeron having a down year every now and then because, well, he plays in the best conference in all of college football. Jim Harbaugh is not capable of reloading every single year and being a national title contender every single year at a Power 5 school. He has not proven that he is capable of doing that. Jim Harbaugh is a good recruiter. He's not a great recruiter, not elite in that category, not better than Kirby Smart, not better than Nick Saban, not better than what Urban Meyer was, and not better than what Ryan Day is right now. Some of that has to do with Ryan Day, being at a program in Ohio State that is just better than Michigan. That's fine, but Harbaugh was brought in to, up the ante a little bit, and he's been a good recruiter. But Michigan has limitations, and Harbaugh's not good enough to overcome those academic limitations, okay? And my question is, why were Michigan fans having the expectations be so high for Jim Harbaugh in the first place? When's the last time Michigan has won a national title? When's the last time a national title has been the standard at Michigan? Michigan might be the most overrated program in all college football right now. Michigan has won 11 national titles. That's very, very good. That's great, okay? You want to know the last time they've actually won one of those 11 national titles? It was in 1997, a long time ago, because right now is 2020. And in that year, 1997, Michigan shared their national title with Nebraska. The last time Michigan, outright, by themselves, won a national title was 1948. And Michigan fans have you thinking that national titles are the standard at our program right now. That's not been the standard for decades. Michigan is the most overrated program in all of college football, and the expectations for Jim Harbaugh were way too high for him to live up to because Michigan, they're not a national title powerhouse anymore. That's not what they've been about the last, 20 to 30 years. And Jim Harbaugh at Stanford was a good head coach, but not a great head coach. Jim Harbaugh, he was never going to be capable of making Michigan a national title contender. And based on the way things are looking for Ryan Day at Ohio State, Ryan Day is not slowing down. Michigan is not even remotely close to Ohio State. Ohio State's won 15 of their last 16 matchups versus Michigan. Jim Harbaugh has come close to beating Ohio State one time back in 2016. Ever since then, he's not been close to competing with Ohio State. So that's the harsh and brutally honest truth about Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. The Michigan Wolverines are not the national title powerhouse that the media and that their fan base wants to make them out to be. And Jim Harbaugh, he's a good football coach. He's going to win you anywhere from 8 to 10 games in most good years. But Jim Harbaugh, he's not going to win you a bunch of bowl games. He's not going to make you a national title contender. He's a good head coach, not an elite head coach. That is the harsh reality about Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. And by the way, I don't think Jim Harbaugh is the future of Michigan. He might have bought himself another year due to the fact that this Ohio State game got canceled this year. So we'll see what the future holds for Jim Harbaugh. But I doubt that Jim Harbaugh is going to be the head coach of Michigan within the next 2 seasons. At some point, whether it be at the end of this year or maybe at the end of next year, Jim Harbaugh is probably going to get fired. And that's the right move because Jim Harbaugh, he's been a disappointment at Michigan. Sure, he made Michigan relevant again. But again, if you're barely beating Rutgers and losing to Indiana and losing to Michigan State, who had a first-year head coach who was projected to be not very good, if you're losing to those opponents 6 years in to your tenure at Michigan, you're not cutting it. You're not getting the job done. So that's the harsh reality about Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines.
Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juiciest Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juiciest Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.